Ah, never mind, my microphone was muted. Shit. Well, let me say it again. Good evening, fellas. I think my microphone was muted when I was saying hi. How is life, fellas? How is life? And here is the sugar daddy. Good evening, buddy. Alexander's always been in the business. Yeah, man, too much, I must admit. Too much, I must admit. How are you guys doing? How is life serving you? Headache's gone. Nice, man. Yeah, that sucks, dude. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. Man, like, older I get, my beard grows old, like, faster. Now I have to shave, like, every 3-4 days. My wife is like, your beard is too sharp. And I'm like, man, I can't shave all the time. Craft, good evening. I mean, Chica, you're not far from the truth. I used to be that neck beard guy. Then I went soft. So the reason why I'm streaming today is because we're having guests from Serbia coming tonight, actually around midnight. They're gonna stay at our place until Monday evening. So I'm sorry, Monday morning. So I'm probably not gonna be streaming tomorrow and the weekend because we're gonna be taking them around Copenhagen and. So yeah, so basically, most likely, yeah, we're gonna see each other now and then. Most likely on Monday again, but let's see how it goes. I might catch a few hours in the weekend to stream, but I don't think so. Yeah. Let me know if the music is too loud or whatever. All right, let's just start the stream with something. Let me figure out what it is that I want to achieve today. AWS, GCP, those things are great. They're just, for the convenience you get, they're just, they're expensive, right? I mean, they're not expensive depending what is the problem you're solving. If you have a running business that, you want to cut down on DevOps engineers and stuff like that, of course they're good. There's nothing better than GCP, AWS, even Azure, right? But you pay more for the convenience, right? You can configure miracles in these platforms. At Dream Data, we are one of the biggest. We're the biggest GCP. We're one of the biggest GCP partners in whole Europe, right? So. Well, whoever you spoke to has no fucking idea what they're talking about. That's much how I can tell you. Saying that AWS is bad or Azure whatever or is just ridiculous. That has no correlation to reality, right? These things are serious services. They offer hundreds of different services from machine learning, AI, cloud storage, right? I don't think they're too big. I mean, they offer a lot of different services. You're not going to use all the services, right? So if you're using GCP, you can use Cloud Run, for example, to host your API. You can use then some managed Postgres database or whatever, and there you go. You only need 2 of them. When they say that they're too big, that makes no sense because you don't need to use, and you will never use 120 different services, right? They just offer a lot services for various use cases, right? So for example, at Dream Data, we're using Vertex AI, for example. We're using BigQuery, right? We're using Cloud Run, we're using Kubernetes, we're using so many services because our business needs it. It's based on these things, right? What do you think about Vercel? I mean, I think that all of these services are fundamentally great, right? It just depends what it's very difficult. 369, good evening. It's very difficult for me to answer the question with meaning, giving you some meaning, right? Because I would need to know the context. When you say, what do you think about Vercel? That really depends. That depends what you mean. But I think for hosting, Next.js and top apps like this, I think it's great, right? Depends what is the problem that you have. Alia, good evening. Good to have you here. So I think all of these things are great. I mean, I used to host websites 20 years ago on $2 hostings like WordPress, Joomla, E100, what was it, and all of this stuff. So it's very difficult today to have a bad hosting, right? This level of industry has evolved so much that it's very difficult to pay for something that's not great already, right? So this is fundamentally, you're just paying for a computer somewhere that has resources and an uptime and stuff like that, right? So let's not make it more than it is, right? What is hosting? It's a fucking computer somewhere in some data center that you want to be running all the time. It's not rocket science, right? So all of these things are great, and depending on your competence, that's what you choose. So if you don't know shit about DevOps, then you need to use something like that doesn't require much DevOps skills. If you're great with servers and you know everything, right? Then you can get Hetzner or any dedicated hosting space at anywhere really in the world. There's so many of them, and all of them are great, right? I mean, it's 2024, right? Who cares about hosting anymore, right? The thing is with AWS, with Azure, with the Google Cloud Platform is that these things provide services which are insanely good, and you can't build that yourself. You cannot build a BigQuery yourself, or Snowflake, or Vertex AI, or things like these. Things are something that Google has been working on for 20 years, right? So these are unique services. So if you need, big data, right? If you need a data warehouse, you need to use these things, right? For the most part, unless you have millions of dollars to spend, right? To build it yourself, right? So that's ridiculous, right? So no matter what, all of these things are great, and who cares, right? I mean, hosting an app is not really a challenge anymore. Building an app and building the right things, right? Hi, Alex, what about your health? I don't understand the question. What do you mean, what about my health? So yeah, that's fundamentally what it is, right? Use whatever, right? As I always say, right? If you're building a product, right? Never forget about COGS, right? As I said before, right? Cost of goods sold, right? So whenever you're choosing some of these services, you have to account for this metric, COGS, right? How much does it cost? How much does it impact my business, the pricing of my business that I'm selling, right? Because fundamentally, yeah, you can pay for everything. And if that lowers the cost, meaning you don't have to hire another DevOps engineer that's going to cost you on average, 100,000 euros a year, I mean, all of this stuff is a simple calculation, right? So it goes really like this. Look, you have really two possibilities when it comes to hosting. It's very simple. Fuck you, Storm. Okay, so listen, you have bare metal and you have cloud, right? So let's start there, right? This is very simple. So you can host stuff on VPS yourself, do DevOps yourself, and then you can do DevOps with the help of cloud, right? What does this mean? How do these two branch? Well, here you can have bare metal in your office, or you can have it in the cloud. I mean, this bare metal can be, it doesn't matter, but here you do everything yourself using, I don't know, Docker, Swarm, for example, right? Here, right, you do things a lot easier, right? Because it's kind of, you know, it's done for you. You go and say, click, 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 I want managed Postgres, click. You know, I want Cloud Run with the load balancer and auto scaling, click, 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 Cloud Run with auto scaling, right? So it's ClickOps, basically. Yeah, that's a good one, right? Does this require knowledge as well? Of course it does. Everything requires knowledge. This is not just click. If it was click, then you wouldn't have certification for GCP, AWS, so you still need knowledge. But it's really hidden for you behind the UI, right? Of course, you can use infrastructure as a infrastructure as code and stuff like that. But fundamentally, right here, so what does this mean money-wise? Like Terraform, exactly. So, but what does this mean, right? Well, this means usually that here you need to hire more people. More people, right? Here you need less people, right? But, you know, big guys cost more, right? And then what is a simple equation? Well, the simple equation is basically how much does this cost me relative to this? And this is almost always cost you less. This is always because hiring, again, if we assume that an average senior DevOps engineer costs anywhere in the EU at least between 80 and 100,000 euros a year annual salary, you take this, if you have two of the guys, well, then they cost 200,000 a year, and then imagine you can get a certified AWS GCP guy for 100K a year, and then add to that 30K for the hosting, right, a year. So let's say approximately 3,000 euros a month. Then calculation is fairly clear, right? So this is not rocket science, but it's not that simple. You can't do everything here that you can do here, because this guy, right, has 150 different services. So on this guy here, you can use AI, machine learning, any database you want. You choose it. Here, oh, let me find the Vertex AI Docker image. Nope, not gonna happen. You need hardware for that. You need GPUs, right? So this has limitations. But if you have a simple CRUD application, you have some front end with an API, etc., it doesn't really matter, right? You can see Programmer Network is hosted on Hetzner practically almost for free, right? And I configured everything myself because I don't need AI yet. I don't need machine learning. I don't need anything. So when it comes to relatively, when I say simple, I don't mean literally it's simple, but I mean if you don't need any like specific services like machine learning, AI, something that's specific to AWS, something that's specific to these things, then you're more than well on VPS, right? But if you need these things, right? And of course, this depends what stage your project is in. Should you start with the GCP? I think you could, right? Because GCP and AWS, they have this, what is it called? 1 year free, right? So you can get like 1 year of GCP and AWS for a whole year. And if you don't have any traffic, it's amazing. So Google offers quite generous package, right? Anyway, it's really, really hard to beat GCP in my opinion. It's so hard. I mean, we use Google Cloud Platform at Dream Data where I work, and I'm mind blown. You might wonder, well, Alex, why don't you use it for Programmer Network? Because I don't have this project doesn't generate any profit. It probably never will. So I don't want to shoot myself in the knee. But if any of my projects in my career, my company succeed, of course I would use the cloud. Because I don't want to be building infrastructure. I want to be building features. I want to be building products. Nobody gives a crap where your app is hosted. When a user, as I said many times, when a user comes to your website, they don't care where your site is hosted. Nobody, comes to Programmer Network and says, wow, this is so fast. Nobody cares, man. People come see your product and is this useful? No, it's fucking useless. If your product is useless, nobody cares that it's fast. If your product is useful and it's slow, then you could say, okay, well, we can make it even better. But if you host something on GCP and it's useless, then it's useless no matter where you host it, right? So users are not going to get obsessed. Just like when you wake up and you open your browser, you're no longer thinking, man, my internet is so stable and it's so fast, right? And of course, like Numinex said, of course you can. For example, I'm using, like, for example, Cloudflare, which is cloud with Hetzner, right? So of course that you don't necessarily have to move everything to GCP or AWS. Of course, if you're using Kubernetes, let's say in GCP, it makes a lot logical sense to have everything in GCP. But of course that you don't have to have everything there, right? So yeah. I can tell you that in several companies in my career, in several projects in my career, right? I can tell you that like Storm has said, it's very painful, right? When you have, for example, when I worked at Airtame 7-8 years ago, we had our own physical server in the building right here in Copenhagen, and that was very costly, right? First, it wasn't in the data center, it was in our own office. It was basically positioned in one of the rooms where we installed air conditioning and stuff. You don't want to do that, right? That is incredibly, incredibly painful, right? So yeah, but anyway, going back to the original question, yes, cloud is amazing. If you can afford it, if it makes sense, if you are alone like I am and you can afford it and you want to spend time building the product, not infrastructure, of course it's amazing, right? Oh, let me see. You asked something. I have a genuine question. Why would you set up Docker for any project if you don't have Kubernetes or CI pipeline? And I'm just trying to understand. Well, I think, Leo, the way that you asked the question is a little bit confusing. There's no such thing as setting up Docker. Docker is just, think about virtual machines before, and Docker is a version of way enhanced and way less resource intensive VM, right? So you're not setting up anything, you're isolating your services to run in isolated environment on a host that's fundamentally very efficient resource usage wise, right? So you, of course, so that has nothing to do with CI, CD or anything like that, right? You basically, no, it's for hosting applications. You have to host your application somewhere, right? Yeah, VM without bullshit, exactly. So think about it that, you know, you have very lightweight operating systems where your services are running in isolation and then exposing some services or ports to other images so they can communicate together. But fundamentally, they're decoupled, right? Think about it, it's... I don't think that developing using Docker is efficient, for example. Some people might disagree, and if they... It works the same, but I think Leo is asking that, you know, what about probably, you know, using Docker as a development environment, right? I mean, you can do that, and a lot of people do that, a lot of teams do that. Why do they do that is the question. Well, they do that, of course, because, again, you can have a snapshot of your image and ensure that you are executing your API or services in the same environment no matter who runs it. So your friend might run that Docker image on Windows, another friend can run it on, you know, Arch Linux, another one can run it on Mac, and they will share the same environment, same development environment, right? Let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you, Leo. I think let me explain it and I promise you're gonna understand it. Look, imagine this. Imagine you go to work and one of your colleagues has Mac OS. James uses Mac OS. He hates Windows. He thinks Bill Gates is a fucking asshole, okay? It's like, fuck Bill Gates. James hates Bill fucking Gates, right? Then you have Leanne, right? Leanne, when she was little, her neighbor bought her, you know, Ubuntu. And ever since her neighbor bought her Ubuntu, she really liked Linux, right? And then you have this fucking freak who is using Arch Linux because he hates his life. His name is Dick, right? And Dick uses Arch, right? Because he fucking hates his life, right? I don't want to live, but I must, right? Right, and all of them want to run in development environment, right? You have your API, you have your front end, right? You have 3 databases, right? And the guy in Arch, wants to set up these databases, but he can't, right? He tried past 4 weeks, but setting them up was very hard, right? It's like, yeah, fucking MongoDB. I don't want to live even at all anymore, right? Lian is like, setting up Mongo, setting up Mongo was so easy. Setting up Mongo was so easy. I just did apt install Mongo. Ubuntu is the best. Because James is a hipster, right? He actually did no work. He did another tattoo on his neck and added another sticker to his laptop, right? But he told everyone that he can code, right? And all of them, right? All of them have to set up this crap on their computers, right? And you can see they're using different operating systems, right? So then, at one point in time, before we actually had Docker, we had something called a Vagrant, right? And this Vagrant thing was, or actually before Vagrant, we had VMs. So you could basically have a snapshot of a VM, right? And everybody would use VMs to develop, right? So you just boot up this VM, you reset the state to a default one, and everybody, had all of this same setup, right? Well, now, then we switched to Vagrant, right? We had something called Vagrant, and we use Vagrant to share development environment, right? Here's Vagrant. And then at one point, Docker came out, and now we have these Docker images and Docker containers, and here we can replicate dev environment, right? Now, instead of me caring about Dick, who hates his life, Lian, who can't forget her neighbor, and James, who is doing another tattoo of a programming language that came out 3 seconds ago, we can just, we can just use Docker, right? And everybody's happy. This guy can pretend that he's doing work. Lian, can enjoy her Linux, and, Dick can, just hate himself. Even with Docker, right? So that's basically... Yes, exactly, sorry. Oh, shit. Another JS tattoo, right? So that's basically so Leo, yeah. So basically you run them. I mean, when you run a Docker, right, you're just running another operating system on your own operating system. But fundamentally there, you're running your services and they're set up for everyone the same, because everybody is running the same Docker image or Docker images, right? So for example, if you're using Docker Compose, if you use, Docker Compose, with Docker Compose, basically you have a bunch of these Docker images, Docker containers, and then they're composed to run together. So when you say, Docker Compose run, and then dot, for example, in that directory, you can run all of these guys together. You can configure them to be in the same network, blah, 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 right? Exactly, Leo. Yes, exactly. I mean, yes, because each one of these are different operating system. This can be, OS1, this can be OS2, this can be OS3. They can be completely different operating systems for all that matters, right? It doesn't really matter. As long as then you can right. And then Docker Compose, right, for example, is something that Docker team has built to compose these services to be used a little bit easier. So you can actually have a Docker Compose file. I can actually show you Docker Compose a programmer network if you want, right? So if we take a look at Docker Compose, where is it? I don't remember. Let me find it. Infra, wait. man, I use Mac at work, and then when I get home, I only use this laptop to stream. I can't type. My mind get used to command on Mac, and then I come home and I need to use control, and I get all confused. Jesus Christ, man. So this is basically Docker Compose for Programmer Network, right? Soy latte. Oh, by the way, a new keyboard arrived for my work. I bought a new keyboard. I'm gonna take it to work. It's so beautiful, man. I just unpacked it. Actually, I don't think you can see it, but the sound, listen to the sound of it. Because, you know, I'm working basically full-time from the office now. I bought this. I got a mouse. I got some wireless mouse. It just arrived from Amazon like 20 minutes before the stream. So I still have plastic over it. So I'm gonna take it to work tomorrow. Looking forward. I don't know what it is. Let me show you. I just bought it basically. Like, it just arrived like a few minutes ago. Let me show you. I just bought it for work. So this is what I got for work. I just wanted it. I don't give a shit. I just, at work, what I have at work isn't really good. I bought this thing. And this is the keyboard. So it's very similar to my existing keyboard, if you remember, right? But this one is better. This one is better than that, yeah. This keyboard, well, this one that I bought for work is 100 euros. But the one that I have here at home, I think was 250 euros. This is around 100 euros in Europe, if I think. Yeah. And I bought this as well. I'm gonna unpack it at work. Here it is. I didn't unpack it yet. I don't wanna. Tomorrow I'm gonna take it to work, and then I'm gonna instantly become so productive because I bought this, right? Actually, I'm very eager to try this mouse out even here. It's actually quite comfortable, but I'm gonna take it to work. Yeah. We'll see tomorrow. It's actually, yeah, it has this charging station as well. That's why I bought it, because at work I have this Bluetooth mice, and every fucking time I need to change the battery in it. Well, I'm not using a trackpad at work, right? Yeah, but that's what it is. I hope that the DevOps discussion was useful. If I missed some question, please copy paste it again, because there was a lot of discussion. So if I missed some of your questions, just paste it back. My pleasure, man. Of course, dude. You should ask these things more often. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. And yeah, I mean, one thing that's the most fundamental. Just remember, I basically only have one advice left. Whenever you're thinking about infrastructure, please remember, this is the best advice I can give you. This is your best friend. This is your best friend. What is infrastructure? Infrastructure is a bunch of computers and a bunch of resources, and then these computers orchestrated to work together. What is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is even a higher layer than that. Kubernetes orchestrates multiple servers or multiple machines or both to work together. So whenever you're doing infrastructure, your best friend is doing these things. Okay, I have computer 1, I have computer 2, 3, this one does this one does this one talks to this one, right? So before you do anything ever in infrastructure, this is where you start. And this is where you finish. And then when you have a great idea of what you want to do, this thing here, I'm going to call this little thing here, this thing here, I'm going to call, this is my port. this here is my port, 8080. And this is mapped, this is exposed to this guy here, right, on this port. You can say, okay, and this port here is, 7171, right? So this guy exposes this to this guy, right? Right, so you need to draw these things because it's very logical. It's just don't overthink infrastructure. Infrastructure is a bunch of computers together, usually one computer or more, or one computer that has many VMs or Docker containers or any other containers, right? And then, Kubernetes, you can say, well, Kubernetes can orchestrate a bunch of different servers. So I can have a Hetzner in EU, this is a full-fledged server. I can have GCP in Asia. I can have a whole data center in Brazil. And then this is my Kubernetes here, and I can orchestrate how these work together, right? Any cloud service suggestions for people who just starting AWS, Azure, GCP based on... I'm biased, right? I would always say GCP, right? I would always say GCP because I've worked past 3 years with GCP at Dream Data. So don't listen to me because I'm biased, right? I worked with AWS very little, like 7 or 8 years ago, but so I'm biased, right? So I would go with GCP because it's Google, it's amazing services, UIs less worse than AWS, and the emphasis is on less worse. So I don't want to say it's good. I just want to say less worse, because all of these UIs, unfortunately, due to the complexity of things, yeah. Lord, I mean, that's beside the point here. Yes, of course that both ports have to be open, yes. But they're open inside of your Docker network, so only one is exposed somewhere else, right? We're talking about internal network, right? Does UI even matter at this point, though? I think it does, Nominix. I think it does. Because it's very rare that anybody starts with GCP or the AWS using Terraform, right? It's very rare that you start there. Sure, if you're like a super professional DevOps engineer who does that, full time, right? Absolutely, it's possible. But it's very rare that you do that, right? In most cases, what you do, you start with the UI, then you realize, Jesus Christ, we have no fucking clue who clicked where, what is enabled, what is disabled, and then you slowly start moving that to Terraform, right? Because the biggest problem with these UIs of GCP and AWS is that if you're not using infrastructure as code, you basically have no idea what the hell you've done, right? Because, Michael one day wakes up and he logs into GCP, he goes into search, he types, CDN, he goes into CDN, right? He's like load balancer, okay, cool, load balancer. He goes into the HTTP headers, clicks, open, sets an HTTP header of, I don't know, XYZ, right? He clicks save. In the notifications, right, it says done, great, it works, right? And then he closes that. And then 3 days later, nobody fucking knows who changed the CDN, right? Because what is this HTTP header, right? Nobody knows. There's no Git history. There's nothing, right? So that is the problem with these types of things, right? Yeah, for sure. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not saying this out of my asshole. I've even this example I showed you is a real life example. It happens all the time, right? It just happens all the time. If you're not doing infrastructure as code, it's the hardest thing is figuring who the hell did what and when, right? So the best thing you can do in these, so I have one tip. If you're not using infrastructure like code as infrastructure or infrastructure as code, the only thing you can do is limit access to your GCP or AWS. So in simple words, you have 1 or 2 people through which everybody has to go. Otherwise, if you have 5 people who are making changes, you're fucked, right? Because nobody will then know what the hell is happening, right? So the only thing you can do is you can say, of course, you can create a process of some change log. You can say, hey, but document everything, right? If I show you even the programmer network, even my infrastructure that is also done by me, you will notice that it's fully documented. Every single thing I've done, it's documented, including diagrams and stuff like that, right? Because you will not remember this. You need a README. You need to so you could almost say that this is my attempt at infrastructure as code, right? So it's not really something that I can use Terraform for, but at least I have documented all of my deploy scripts, my firewall rules, my etc., etc. Because you have to, right? Otherwise, no chance that you will memorize this, right? I think a random potato is correct, right? And again, as I said initially, right, you have to evaluate what is better for you, right? Again, if you're not using the cloud, you need more DevOps engineers. DevOps engineers, like any other type of engineers, they're expensive, right? You have to evaluate, is it cheaper for me to pay 2 or 3 DevOps guys that cost, let's say, 300,000 euros a year, 3 of them or whatever, or because you're going to have to pay anyway. It's just you have to make a decision what it is that you want to pay, right? Did people become too reliant on the cloud providers? Yes. Is there some sort of laziness there as well? Sure. But keep in mind, people don't want to build infrastructure anymore, right? That's not a feature. Just as imagine that you have to build your own networking layer. These things have no inherent value for the product or the customer. So that's why you're trying to do everything not to do it. So these, in my opinion, sorry to say, probably in 10 to 20 years, infrastructure or DevOps might not even exist in this shape or form, because the things are going to get so automated that it's going to become almost like the internet today. As I said a couple of minutes ago, you don't wake up and say, wow, my internet works. Wow, I can breathe the air. Air is still here. You take this as something implicit, and for example, I worked as a Cisco engineer for 3 years. You know, when was the only time when people were pissed? When the internet didn't work. When internet works, nobody gives a shit, because everybody expects internet to work. When you expect to breathe, right? You're not waking up in the morning and saying, wow, the air is still here. But you would be very pissed, or to say you would be dead, if that oxygen is not there. So it's the same with the internet and infrastructure. Infrastructure is considered to be working, and when people go to your service, they're not mind blown that it works. Wow, I went to programmer network and it opened. Nobody cares, man. So that's why companies don't care. Because users don't care, because your infrastructure doesn't bring any novelty to your product, right? I mean, random potato dev, you know how I look at these services like Vercel? You know how I look at these services like Vercel and stuff like that? This is how they operate. You know how these banks who give you those quick loans for 20% interest? You know, you go to these micro banks, right? Micro credits or whatever. Micro credits, right? And they give you 20% loans. So you go there and in 2 hours, they give you a loan of 3,000 euros. You buy yourself a new PC. And you pay 20% rate because you don't care, right? You really want that PC. You want it like, fuck. I need this PC because World of Warcraft expansion came out. And yes, it's not going to make any sense, but yeah, right? So it's the same with Vercel, right? Vercel, right, buys shit from AWS, and then they sell that crap to you, like you said, 5 times more expensive. Why can they do that? Well, because they build this shitty server-side rendering thing that any idiot can use. Value, pay, right? That's literally how it works. So I don't blame them. I mean, it's not easy. They did an amazing job, right? Because the reason why it's more expensive isn't because of hosting, it's because they give you, right, something that's so easy to use and it works, right? That's what it is. Of course it's expensive. So it's no different than microcredits, right? No, dude. Look, the last consulting project that I did was actually using Vercel. So don't take me wrong, I don't have anything against it. In fact, I used this service literally the day when it came out. So this Lunasol Live, you can see, is the product that I built. This guy unfortunately failed. He didn't. You can see 257 days ago was when I updated this, but I actually way longer than that. I don't actually remember where can I see it. So this thing is, I'm not against it, right? It's just, again, it boils down to what it is that you're trying to solve, right? Give me 1 second. For me, the biggest problem with this isn't the Vercel per se, right? It's the whole Next.js thing, right? Is that I just don't have a use case for these server-side rendered apps. They don't solve anything for me relative to the, let's say, single-page applications like React or Angular or Vue. So I don't see the value in that sense, right? Yeah, absolutely potato. Where can I see when I signed up? I think this account is was created literally when this thing came out. Where can I check that? I used it for consulting because that's what the client wanted. When I'm doing consulting projects, I actually don't care, right? Because I'm not doing it for myself. And I will do whatever can save me time. So you can see here, 1,009, so 4 years ago almost, 3 years ago, right? 1,091 days ago, right? So yeah, so basically this account I've used 3-4 years ago, right? And this service was still not that. Actually, you don't see it there. But yeah, there it is, right? Yeah, here it is, 1,091 days ago. 1,059 days ago. Yeah, but you get the point, right? So I've used this crap. Don't take me wrong. I'm not, again, as I always say, I don't talk out of my asshole, right? If I don't know something, as you know, I say I don't know. So I don't have anything against this. It's just it doesn't solve my problems. That's all. And I'm not going to pay extra because this convenience that it provides, I don't need. Because I can do most of these things on my own in a relatively okay, he's counting like always. Let me just get a bit of coffee, 1 second. My wife doesn't like that I'm drinking coffee this late, but I had meetings from like 9 until 5. I've been in the meetings like whole day. My brain is like a potato. All right, cool. Well, that's what it is, guys. Great discussion, actually. So nice when people actually. No, this is water. The other thing is coffee. What did I want to do? Okay, let me just do something very quickly here. Fucking UI. I know we are all sick. We are all sick of the front end. I am as well. But it is the essence of every app, unfortunately. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Wasm, exactly. Yeah, somebody was trolling me last night, man. I made a mistake. I should just ban these people. I'm sorry for the last night, seriously. I think I should just ban these people sometimes. I don't know why I allow myself to. It's just I find it fun for a moment, and then it's just yeah. I should just ban them right when they come. But yeah, that's what it is. It's my bad. It's my bad. Without a doubt, right? I've been hearing about WASM for like ages. JavaScript is gonna die when WebAssembly comes out. Still waiting, man. Still waiting 10 years later, 15 years later. I've been part of these Google Groups discussions about WASM. I remember I was very passionate about JavaScript back then. So I was part of these Google Groups like 10 or 15 years ago. I was this freak who was part of these like Google listings, right? And I remember these fellas. When WASM comes out, it's gonna kill JavaScript. Still waiting, bro. Still waiting. Still waiting. That it's the same with video games. And this new MMO is gonna kill World of Warcraft. Still waiting, man. Still waiting for the death of these games. Well, I mean, I think so. I think rotating phaser. I think the biggest problem with WASM, right, is that the problem that it's meant to solve isn't really the web pages. It's high computation related things like video games and stuff. But who the hell is going to build a native game in the browser? Like, why would you literally want to do that? Why would you build a game that runs in WASM when you can build a game that runs natively on the operating system, right? So it's just influencer-driven programming, right? Everyone has a browser, but that's not the point, right? Everybody has an operating system on which that browser is running. I don't think that's a valid point in this context. I agree with you in every other context, right? Other than the video games. You are not gonna, an average gamer is not gonna install a game in the web browser because that guy spent 7,000 euros on a machine with RTX 1 billion, right? So they will not be installing a video game in the browser because it's more convenient. Because that convenience in that specific, for that specific user group absolutely has 0 sense, right? It's like, think about it this way. You remember when on BlizzCon, maybe 7-8 years ago, or 5 years ago, right? You remember when Blizzard announced this Diablo Immortal on mobile phones, and the whole BlizzCon was just quiet. Everybody was shocked. And then this idiot says, "Don't you guys have phones?" And everybody's sitting there, all of these sweaty nerds who spend 7 billion euros on their computers, right? Thinking like, why the fuck would I play Diablo on my phone, man? I mean, that makes no sense. So it's the same thing here. An average gamer, a guy who spends playing 20 hours a day of video games, is not going to install a video game in the browser. That makes 0 sense, right? So the target group is completely wrong. This is not about convenience, because that convenience doesn't apply. A guy who is playing video games all day long, they will install that game once and they're done, right? Why would they need convenience of the browser, right? And you can't squeeze these, right? If you don't have a space on your computer, you'll use the browser, but it wouldn't work like that. You cannot load 90 gigabytes of a video game in the browser. Where would you load that, right? Where would you load these assets, right? How do you think it would work? You would have to load it somewhere, right? Well, you will not be able to load it, right? Unless you stream it like Stadia. Yeah, exactly. But that's different, right? Good evening, Havok. So it's just a different target group. It's a wrong target group, right? Yeah, but these games that they play have nothing to do with WASM, right? These games have nothing to do with WASM. You're talking about HTML5 games. You're talking about various things which don't need C++ to run them, right? So that's the point, right? You don't need WASM to build a HTML5 game, right? Yeah, but Andre, you're right, man, and you don't need WASM for that, right? But look, it's not, the support is there. The support is there, right? Look, you can use WASM for whatever you want. Look, let's reverse this. Let's reverse this discussion. Why do you think that nobody is doing that, what you're suggesting right now? Why do you think that nobody is using WASM to render Figma? Because it's not necessary. Figma works perfectly with HTML, JavaScript, etc., etc. So does Pokemon game or whatever, right? So this is not about why should you or should you not. You can do whatever you want, but it's not necessary, right? Yeah, well, you can, that's not the point, right? We all prefer that, right? The question is why the adoption isn't there, right? And I'm telling you why the adoption isn't there, because people don't give a shit about installing video games in the browser. If you want to install a game, you're going to install it on your operating system, which is way more efficient than running a video game in your browser, right? Let's see. Let's research together. Made with WebAssembly. There we go, Figma, Unity. Yeah, but this was an initial example. I don't think that they've ever actually done anything. So there we is, Figma. Okay, great. What else? This is amazing. I actually didn't know that. That's amazing. That's great. That's awesome. That's badass. Yep. A creative software development platform for Rust. Diablo 1 for web browsers. Wow, okay. What the f? Are you kidding me, man? This is the game of my youth. Asshole. Okay. All right, guys. From this day, this stream is about Diablo 1. We will not write no shitty JavaScript. Fuck JavaScript. This stream is now about WebAssembly. Everything I said past 20 minutes was false. I'm an idiot and I apologize. No. All right. All right. I shouldn't have found that. Guys, I need to go. I have some work to do. I have some work. I just forgot to tell you that I just have something that I have to. Oh, okay. Fuck, I just shat on WebAssembly for 5 minutes and then I found Diablo. If they port D2, rest in peace, job, wife, kid. Go compiler, avocado. Okay, look, to be very honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, is it a lot of projects? Of course not. I mean, WebAssembly was introduced more than a decade ago. Is 134 things a lot? No. But I'm still positively surprised. I mean, this is good. I hope that people find use cases, because unfortunately, most of these things are useless, right? So for example, no sane person is going to use Unity in the browser, because a professional Unity developer is going to install Unity in around 6 seconds and then get the best performance out of the operating system, right? So the use cases here are not something that I see, like Qt. Why would I run Qt in the browser, right? Because like we can all find theoretical examples why, but practical examples is very hard, because I can go and say Qt download. I can download this, right? And I can do this in 5 seconds, right? For sure, I mean, definitely. So for example, I'm using Photopea, right? I'm using this thing, right? And I agree, like, this is awesome. I think this was probably built actually in JS, but this sort of stuff, I agree. Like, this is super useful, right? So I'm not saying that there are not any use cases. Of course they are, right? But when I look at some of this stuff, it's like, I mean, would I really use Qt to build C++ user interfaces in the browser? Like, it's not should I, it's rather why would I, right? Why would I do that, right? Like AutoCAD, man. I used to draw in this after high school. I worked at the project bureau. I could find a use case for AutoCAD being in the browser. I'm on a trip, I'm on my work laptop, or I didn't bring my desktop where I usually, architect things. So yeah, I could see some use of this, right? But yeah, I don't actually know. I just need to go, guys. I just wanna... Yeah, for sure, Numinix. I'm with you, man. But Figma, this is a great use case. I use Figma every single day at work with my designer, and this is awesome use case, right? This is awesome, right? Why is it awesome, you might ask? Well, for example, I remember back in the day we used to use this tool called Sketch 3, right? And Sketch 3 never existed on any other platform other than Mac OS. So people who didn't have a Mac, they were fucked because you couldn't use this if you weren't a hipster with a Mac OS, right? So if this thing had WebAssembly, this thing would still be alive, right? This shit, I don't think that anyone uses this anymore. Figma just won. So for these types of things which you can map across, it makes all total sense, right? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, this is a perfect use case for me. You have a design tool that works basically anywhere. And I just show you the counter of that was this thing that I think this still only works on Mac OS, right? Okay, so actually they did introduce it now. Look, web app for any browser. Shut up, Numinix. Alright, motherfuckers. I answer questions and Alright, but you're right. No, it's never been free. It's never been free. Alright, Numinix bastard. It's just stream started with so many questions. Jesus Christ, man. Well, I mean, my response to you can be absolutely do it, right? Build it. Be the one who drives this change, right? Because this is the problem fundamentally of developers overall. We have to, we must. Why do we do this? Do it. Go ahead and build. You be the driver of that change. You be the front. You be the in forefront, right? Get what I mean? We must. Well, do it. Build it, right? A lot of people come, oh, you're using JavaScript, right? Well, do it, right? I mean, I think it's fair assumption. If you suggest something, I would say the best way you can influence others is to lead by example, right? Because everything else is very redundant, right? That's like, you having parents who are smoking and telling their kid you shouldn't smoke, right? So fundamentally, yeah, I agree. Be the driver of the change, right? We should stop using JavaScript. Okay, you drive that change, right? $100% agreed. 100%. 100%. I think fundamentally, right? I think fundamentally that all of this discussion is amazing for us developers, right? But as always, for those of you who've been watching me for a long time, this is a pragmatic stream, right? So all of this discussion is cool only for us. An average user, an average CTO, an average CEO, and an average customer can't give a crap about any of this, right? People can barely build working websites that don't bug out every 3 seconds, let alone expecting them to build websites with C++, right? Or stuff like that. So fundamentally, the only people who care about this, even if that's true, would be developers, which is not true, because if developers cared, the adoption would be there. So in simple words, you could say that this whole discussion is just random chit-chat, because nobody gives a shit. Because again, that's how I operate. If you care, you would be the driver of that change. You wouldn't say, oh, we should stop using XYZ. Instead, you would stop using it. You would be the one who makes that difference, right? Everything else is just a cool type of, like, cool story, bro, right? We should do this. We should do that. Well, do it. I mean, who prevents you to do it? Just do it, right? I'll continue on that. The best way to think about how much we care is to look at the data and look at the adoption, right? Everything else is just a bunch of sweaty nerds acting cool, right? But yeah, that's what it is. That's how it is. That's what it is. All right, let me just do one thing. Because last night we did this, and Random Potato, I actually saw that a couple of days ago, and I was actually very happy. I still use jQuery in some of my very old projects and some of consulting projects. Actually, yeah, so basically, guys, jQuery 4 essentially removed the support for Internet Explorer 10 and below. They still have, they're still keeping support for EI 11. They're gonna remove that, if I remember, in the next release. But yeah, jQuery is amazing, man. jQuery is still very awesome. Odessa, good evening, friend. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not even kidding. I think the jQuery is pretty awesome, man. What did I want to do with it? Yeah. HTML5 history API plus jQuery, you can build your own framework in 3 seconds for more basic applications that don't need the full-fledged state machine and stuff like that. I think it's great. A React query. Mm. Basically what we're gonna do soon, maybe even this stream, right? We need to go back and see, if you guys remember, we have deployed the mobile app. I absolutely and completely forgot how we did what we did. It's been so long, right? But at one point we almost deployed, so I paid this Android crap, right? And we need to and then we were using PVA, right? PVA builder, what was it? PVA builder, right? Yeah, exactly. And we were using this thing. What does anybody remember? What was it called? It was called something like, fuck, man. What was it? I did not. No, I did not. Out of principles, as I said, because I love my wife every day, not just on these marketing days, as I call them. So I didn't. I'll do it over the weekend. Fucking capitalistic holidays. Man, what did we use, man? I forgot. We did, if you remember Numinix, we did mobile app, right? Programmer network, progressive web app that we basically I created here in the Android Studio, right? We used it was this thing Bumble, like PVA Bumblebee, is it, or something like that? No, progressive web app what was it, man? We had that binary, man. It was something bubble. Wait, it was something like PVA bubble wrap. Yes. This was it. Okay, got it. I remember now. If you guys remember, we'll be using this bubble wrap basically to wrap our PVA. You know, we would provide this meta file, right, that describes our. So we would we use the progressive web app. So we would using this builder. It would generate this JSON meta file, and then we would generate the. Yeah. So okay, we're gonna have to get back to that. That's why I'm kind of now trying to just improve the experience in mobile, because then because I wanna soon start deploying this to Android. I know that Google is gonna reject us several times, most likely because the UI probably doesn't adhere to what they want, right? But sooner we can get there, the better, and then we can kind of get back and forth between them, with them, right? I'll just do some of these. Actually, soon, all of this sub money, all of this tiny thing that we're making, right? I'm gonna soon start just spending on you guys. I'm gonna send you some stickers, some hoodies, or whatever. Because, I mean, I fundamentally don't give a shit about this money, right? So, yeah, I don't actually care. It's so little anyway, and it would be cool to spend it on the community, actually. Maybe create some hackathon or something, I don't know. Yeah, of course I would ask you for your addresses in personal messages, right? Actually, to be honest, I don't want to touch anything that Mark Zuckerberg builds, because, you know, me and my wife, we removed Facebook like 15 years ago or something like that, right? So this VR stuff, yeah, I'm basically a huge boomer, if I may, in that sense. I love the world I currently love the reality, right? And I don't want to put that shit on my head ever, unless somebody forces me to, right? I love to look at the sky and the trees and the sea every day with my own eyes. I don't need to be in some fucked up reality, because I'm already staring at the screen every single day. The last thing I want is to put that shit on my head and just like be in the Matrix. It's kind of scary. So it's not some stupid shitty philosophy. It's just how I feel, honestly. Just my take on that. Do you ever get paranoid coding on stream? No. I think I've been streaming more than a year now, right? And I also love, since I was early in my career, right? I always enjoyed, I actually code a lot better when people watch me than vice versa. So even at work, right, I always propose pair programming and stuff, or I like when my PM sits behind me when I'm coding, because I'm just like a robot then. I can fully focus. So not really, no. And you kind of, I don't really expose any private shit, so it's for the most part it's fine, right? What the fuck, man? That's my team lead went to prison. Are you kidding me, man? Is that for real? Like, are you? Oh my god, dude! What a fucking freak, man! Wow, dude, I would have no mercy for these idiots, man. But let's not get there. I'm gonna get triggered. Wow, dude, what a sick motherfucker, man! Jesus Christ. Man, when you have a small child like I do now, it's like when you hear this type of stuff, man, fuck, dude, don't. Oof. Fucked up, man. What? Man, what the hell is going on with this crap, man? Wait a minute. Ah, I see. Alright, give me just 1 second. So that's a little bit better, right? But Man, are we seriously missing that from Louis Gui? Wait. Yeah, we are. Jesus Christ. It's Tailwind, so it's not custom. That's just so in Tailwind you can either say, I don't know, minus, let's say, left 1, or you can say left, and then in parentheses you can say minus something, right? So it's a valid syntax, so it's not custom. Let me just run the tests. I guess we need to update the snapshot, yeah. So the biggest anonymously is 001. I think what I'm personally waiting for is so what I'm personally waiting for to happen one day in the community is that designers can take ownership of the whole core UI libraries, right? I've tried over the years so many of these tools that, you know, generate the output based on from Figma or whatever, or etc., from various other tools, and for every single one of them was really bad, right? The generation part was not really good. If, you know, Figma is doing some amazing things, and I think they have an opportunity to do a lot of great stuff there. If they would be able to do that, then we would be able to build products so much faster. Imagine that you can just design your whole core library in Figma, and that's actually the code that you can use out of the box almost, right? That would be badass. But so far, what I've tried and what I've seen, it hasn't been really that great. Hasn't been really that great. Yeah, that is for sure the future. That is for sure the future, right? It just basically, you know, what do you generate it for? If it can generate, in my opinion, it should not generate. It should be framework agnostic generation. So ideally, it should generate some solid CSS and HTML, right? Because you cannot say, hey, generate my React components. Why React, right? So the best way to accomplish that would be, hey, you know, generate some solid HTML and CSS, just plain thing, and then you can transform that into whatever you want if you're using Vue or React or jQuery, whatever, right? I mean, Figma already does that, right? But unfortunately, the output is still really bad, right? Beautiful transparent theme. It is my own library that I built. If you're talking about Programmer Network, or you mean VS Code? What is the question? The VS Code or it's just a default. It's just a dark modern theme that comes with VS Code, and then you can just use the background extension, and that's it. It's a very simple setup, nothing crazy. Okay, so that's what I did there. Where's that crap? Yeah, okay, so this one, okay. Okay. Ooh, what happened here? Okay, never mind. Just dev tools, I guess, just lagging out. Why the fuck do I have this thing here? I do use Docker Desktop on this machine, yes. Not on my MacBook Pro. But I use it here in Windows. Yes, here it is. But do I use it? Use it would be an overstatement, right? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Leo, yes. Seaplane, my friend. Good evening. How are you doing? What the fuck is happening here, man? Am I changing the wrong thing? Yeah, it seems so. This is courses. What the hell am I doing, man? Oh, wow. What happened here, dude? Yeah, fuck. I messed up this shit last night, probably. Articles. Wait a minute. Yeah. Where the hell is this thing? Dashboard, right? I guess. Yeah. It doesn't matter, man, how long somebody is coding. You have to start somewhere, right? So how much am I coding is irrelevant, right? You can be better than me in a couple of years. Just compare yourself only to yourself, right? It means nothing, right? Dude, where the fuck is this, man? Why am I... What is... Oh, this is... Dude. I see why I did that. Okay. Maybe like that, right? On desktop and mobile, right? Not really, right? The fuck happened there, man? Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. So wait a minute. This is meetup in here. Okay. So how did I implement this initially? So I guess these are the events, right? Okay, I see. So we'll need to, so basically this is kind of it. So in the next upcoming streams, we're going to finalize all this because we never really rounded up, right? And on mobile, you're going to be less likely prone to do this anyway, but it's just good to see. Let me actually. What was the latest version of Yale that I just deployed? Give me a second. 88. Okay. All right. Cool. See. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's great. Oh wow. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, that's a little bit weird, isn't it? Huh. Okay. Where is this crap? Okay, great, cool. All right, cool. Well, let's actually go. Let's fix that, right? So that's what we haven't done in TipTap here, right? I guess. So I think that's one of the things that's fucked up now, also in production. So we need to fix that, right? So let's go to our. Is this still running? No. Okay. So let's run it. Because you can see that basically what we're missing here is some sort of a, yeah. So actually, ironically, I would, but my kid is sleeping. But we can play the song. I close my eyes only for a moment, and the moment's gone. All my dreams flash before my eyes, a curiosity, dust in the wind. Oh, yeah, it's dust in the wind. Do same old song, just a drop of water in the endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, but we refuse to see. Shit, what is dust in the wind? Okay, what the hell is happening with that? Give me a second. That's a little bit weird. Is that okay? Let's actually go over here, right? Because I guess at this point, right, this bad boy, we didn't make it mobile friendly, right? Yeah, clearly not. Clearly not, right? Yeah. All right. Cool. So we have to do that, right? I mean, you're Leo. You're essentially running another operating system on your operating system, so it's not. You just need a lot of RAM, right? It's mostly okay. So it's this crap that's the problem, right? Well, actually, no. That's. Let's just say with full MD is that, right? Is that? Yeah, exactly, right? So that means that it is kind of mobile friendly, right? If we make it mobile friendly, right? So let's take a look at the here. So what is okay? So this is good. I see. Okay. So the problem is, what if I do like shit? Wait. So what if I do this? So yeah. So this is what we basically lack, right? So if I do this, right, we're not. Yeah. I see. Okay. So basically, what we need to do in our tip tab, we need to apply to the editor. We need to apply essentially here, right? So tip tab somewhere. Give me a second. We need to apply break words, right? So to editor content, I suppose we could say under either here or here we have to say break all, right? And download more RAM. Exactly. No, not yet. Okay, wait, let's try on the content itself. Class name break all. Motherfucker, why is... Or is it the rendering part? Wait a minute. Let's go to our storybook here and let's say here break all. Yeah, so that is the issue, right? But I technically, right, because if we say here break words, right, this would not technically work, right? Because this is a thing. Yeah, exactly. So we have to break all. What are the all options? Let's go to Tailwind break. Word break, yeah. Break all, break keep. Normal break normal. Break words, yeah. So we basically want break all. That's pretty clear here, right? Yeah. We have to do that, right? The main question though here is do we need to put it in the content or is this one does this one suffice, right? Let's see. Let me refresh this. Yeah, okay, that's amazing. Okay. That's very good. Let's increment this and deploy. Yes. Yep. All right, super. So these are the kind of things that we need to kind of clean up. So this is super good. Shit. Did I actually any unit test anything in relation to this one? I don't think so because it's tip tab fundamental, right? Okay, that's good. So we didn't need to update any of that. Okay, great. Yeah, so that should be fixed now as well. Okay, so the next tiny thing that I see is kind of this line height. There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with that line height there. The title, I would kind of, I think that looks a little bit broken. So let me just close this crap here. And yeah, let's kind of fix that, right? So I guess this would be taught header or something like that, right? Yeah. Yes, so what do we have? We have a nav link, we have avatar, right? This takes you, so you can click on that crap, yes? Oh, actually, while we're here, let's just fix this very quickly, right? That's great. Where is this crap, man? Come on, let's find it. Yeah, okay, here it is. Header, profile, sections profile, yeah. And then there's a follow button somewhere, is there? Avatar, paragraph, state value. Dashboard, no, it's not this one. It's this one here. Okay, I see. Thank you everybody for your follows. Icon edit. So it would be awesome if this follow button was basically, most likely moving this into this div should fix this, right? Is it? No, not really. Toggle follow. So where is this thing and why is this thing beneath it? Okay. So what are you saying here is that all right, cool. Okay, so it's the, well, yeah, but there, where is this mobile thing then? Interesting. All right, cool. That was a quick one, but what was I trying to do for something else, right? So what was I trying to do? Oh yeah, this crap, right? But just super tiny things, but that's what it is. I don't care, honestly. I like building products, so I look slightly different on it. Product without front end is meaningless, and product without back end is meaningless. So one without the other, you cannot do one without the other. So I would much rather say that is just code, right? Writing code is easy for the most part. Building things that make sense together that people want to use, that is hard, right? So it's not a matter of preference. It's rather, it's mandatory. You cannot do one without the other, right? No matter what UI, it can be a web UI, it can be a Qt, it can be Windows Forms, right? A tool without user interface is useless for the most part, right? So it's rather necessary, right? You simply have to do it. It's not a matter of choice, right? If you want to build anything useful, you have to have a UI. If you don't have a UI, then you're building nothing, basically, right? Oh, but I've built this compiler. Who gives a shit, man? Nobody. Maybe you and 3 people who wanted to support you by giving you a star, right? Yes, but my compiler can compile various types of programming codes. Nobody cares, man. Nobody. Okay, what happened with that crap there? Where is the span? What do we have? This thing, right? Why is this text excess? Okay. Unfortunately, anonymously, no, not really, no. A couple of years ago, my brother from the US, he wanted us to build our own cryptocurrency. And he introduced me to to crypto.js. I don't remember how it was called, to be very frank with you. But apart from that, apart from some of that stuff that I tried back then, I know very little of that. Even though, you know, our upcoming tasks soon for Programming Network is going to be using Nostr and ActivityPub. So I'm actually looking forward to learn. I mean, I'm looking forward to those streams once we stabilize some of these things and finalize the features that we already have and just make sure that they're very stable, right? I'm really looking forward to learn about these new protocols and to implement them, because I want Programming Network to be decentralized to some degree. Unfortunately, after reading a little bit of discussion here on Hacker News about Nostr and decentralized protocols, right? The biggest issue that I could decipher from this discussion here is that no matter which protocol you use, it can be, you know, centralized, if I may say, or decentralized. Fundamentally, you are by law responsible for anything that happens to your platform. In simple words, by at least getting some education in here about that, to what degree this is accurate, I haven't confirmed, but fundamentally, no matter, governments don't give a crap what protocol you use. So if some asshole sends pornography, insulting things to others, no matter the protocol, you are responsible as a owner of the platform where this is happening to content manage that. So in simple words, you know, this dream of decentralized internet is beautiful amongst our nerds. Unfortunately, your country doesn't care about that. You have to be so it's not going to be the internet service provider that's responsible, your hosting provider, it's you. So that begs a question of usefulness of decentralizing it, because fundamentally, if your government still keeps you accountable for anything, and if you don't have, so it seems a lot of this stuff is great and it's cool to put on a landing page, we are decentralized social platform for programmers, right? But accountability for any actions on your platform don't differ 1%. So then the main question becomes, am I decentralizing this only for the sake of decentralizing it, or what exactly is the benefit of it, right? So again, I'm not saying that there isn't none. I'm not competent about it yet, but once we learn this stuff together soon when we, you know, because this Nostr protocol as well has been built by the ex-founder of Twitter. I hate Twitter and I don't like that guy either too much, but it's an interesting protocol. We are also going to set up a relay here on my Kubernetes cluster on my Raspberry Pi's cluster. So we're going to set this relay up. It's going to be I think maybe the only relay here in Denmark. So I'm actually I'm very excited that we learn about this, and I know nothing about this almost. I just read a little bit about it. So we're going to learn it together. I mean, it's going to take us probably like 10 streams or something to learn and to implement and to figure out. But, for me, fundamentally, I'm a pragmatic person, right? For me, fundamentally, it's not about being cool. It's about what is the value? What is the benefit? What is the actual benefit for the users. So if one day I come to you and say, hey, programmer network is now decentralized, what does it actually mean? What does that mean to an average user? So Leo comes to me and says, wow, Alex, cool. What does that mean? I'm like, while your message that you just sent didn't go to the AWS, it went to someone else's machine, to some relay, and he's like, all right, cool, man, right? So fundamentally, it's trying to, here's the smart guy. Good evening, my friend. So, but we'll learn. And then, of course, there's this other protocol, right? No, it can't. So basically, when it comes to Nostr, right? When it comes, no, it doesn't work like that, Leo. So all of these things are encrypted, right? So basically, a relay is something that any one of us can actually set up. And basically, this Nostr protocol is using your public SSH key as a identifier of who you are, right? So we're gonna learn about this shit. I don't know too much more than you guys do because I just read it very quickly. But you can see basically this Nostr protocol is basically a WebSocket server that operates in a certain way. So it's still using a WebSocket protocol, but it then does some extra things around it. But it's basically a WebSocket protocol, right? So it's like we use sockjs or socket.io or something like that, but with a different methodology, different way, right? So you can see here, whenever you send an event whenever you send a socket, you're basically identifying yourself with your public key, right? So we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to learn, and I'm gonna watch some YouTube videos and etc. But I mean, it is to some degree also related to peer-to-peer as right. Yeah, we'll see exactly. Exactly. We need to read this, and that's why I said on Discord a couple of days ago, if you guys have some time, please read about ActivityPub and Nostr, because ActivityPub is also apparently very interesting. It's also suggested by the V3C committee, by this Web3C social group, right? But again, we'll see. We'll learn about it, right? And I'm actually looking forward to this type of stuff as soon as possible, right? But before we get there, I need to fix programmer network things and stabilize all of the features. I'm not going to be building any new features until this is all stable and until I am very happy, right? So what does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to get oftentimes a little bit bored with all of this crap we're doing now, because, well, that's how it is. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to build a platform, and then if somebody gets entertained, well, amazing. Otherwise, I don't care. Where's my crap? Here. Shit, man, I don't even remember what I just pushed. What was it? Oh yeah, it was yeah, I see, I remember. It was cool. So let's try that again. So if I do this, okay, great. So you can see now we are actually breaking. So we're no longer having that issue, in fact, right? Amazing. Okay, good. So if I go to articles, for instance, and write, yeah, so this is also responsive now. Is it good looking on mobile with this fat ass now, toolbar? No, I agree. But the chances of anyone actually writing on mobile, right, are marginally low, even though we could do a little work there. And I actually, in fact, yeah, there's no H1 because it shouldn't be. There should only be one heading 1 for the SEO reasons on the page, and that's your article title, right? Everything else should be either H2 or 3 or etc. You get the point, right? So that has been done explicitly. That's the choice I basically made, right? Where is it? Mobile, small mobile, yeah. Let's zoom. Nah, shit, man. That kind of sucks ass. Why does it? All right, cool. Give me 2 seconds. The thing is, right? The SEO. So when it comes to SEO, right? SEO is always has been, and I think always will be, a dynamic type of discussion. I trust you. I trust you, and when you say that, in fact, I'm basically operating on my previous experience of how it was for a long time. Actually, as I posted a couple of days ago, or maybe even today from work, if we go to, for example, reads here, right? I posted this article released by Google, I think a day or two ago, February 8th. It says Google search guidance about AI-generated content, right? While this article and its title and its content might appear as something new in relation to SEO, fundamentally, Google has always been, and most search engines have always been clear and agreed on one thing, that unique content has always been rewarded, right? So you can see now that Google here in this article claims, you can read that if you wish, it claims because, you know, I remember when ChatGPT came out and Bard, my concern was, is anyone actually even going to write articles anymore? Because what's the point? You go to ChatGPT and you generate crap. What Google states here in relation to their algorithms for search is that still uniquely written, interesting, user-focused articles, meaning genuine articles, are still going to rate well, right? So as you can see here, it says rewarding high-quality content. Why the fuck am I talking about this? Because we were just mentioning headings. Well, because I think this basically just shows that even though that Google changes these algorithms regularly, some of these things are fundamentally true always. And as you can see, when you look at the Google's thing here, how many H1s do they have on these pages? Probably one, right? So if I actually right click on their own article, right? There's one H1. You can see here it says H1. If we take a look at the rest of them, right? It's H2, right? So oftentimes, right, we fall into these traps of validating these things, reading Stack Overflow. But oftentimes you can just go to these actual websites of these companies and see how they do it. And I don't think that you will find a Google page where there's more than one heading 1, for instance, right? So I would much rather use that as some sort of a validator for my claims than actually not just asking anyone. It's just, right, go to most of these websites, go to TechCrunch, right? How many headings does TechCrunch, heading 1s does TechCrunch have per page, right? This is probably H1, right? Is there another H1 on the page? Probably not, right? So is your claim correct? Very possibly. But should you play with that? Probably not. So, you know, so just go to few very popular websites, see how they do it, and that's probably some sort of truth to go by, right? And I'm sure that if you go and manage to find a website that has 2 headings, 1, right? Yeah, we can also do that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. There's 1, right? So you can see that, and if you do this, you know, more or less anywhere, so I would say this is our research. So you can say, okay, well, most companies are still having 1 heading 1, so probably we should have heading 1 as well, right? Because keep in mind, these are billion-dollar businesses, right? So, and we are $0 business, right? So this is what all startups do. If you ever have your own company, your own startup, what are you going to do 50% of the time at least? You're going to mimic what your competitors are doing, what companies that you get inspired are doing, etc., right? That's my take, basically. That's my approach, at least. That's how internet operated for decades, right? It's nothing new. That's how most designers work. I wouldn't say it's stealing. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's stealing, I wouldn't say anything. I would just say that's how we all work. That's how everything on this planet has been made. Somebody made the first car, and then some company made a second car. And you know, it would be silly to assume that they didn't get inspired by the first car. Of course that they did, right? So this is how it works. We don't steal, we mimic, we learn from each other, and everybody benefits. This is not to anyone's advantage, right? This is to everyone's advantage. So that's just how it is. Of course, man. You have to, because think about it this way, right? These companies have spent thousands, sometimes millions of dollars in research and development and stuff, right? Time and money that you don't have. So reinventing these things and thinking, oh, I can do it better would be absolutely silly. Of course we can't do it better, right? They had people in the meetings with the PM, with the developers. How do I know that? Because I do that every day at work. My job as a tech lead is to sit with the PM every day and just figure out what do we do, how do we do it efficiently, what is the MVP, how do we release it as quickly as possible and fail as quickly as possibly we can, etc., right? So there's my job every single day, right? Yeah, for sure. China is doing great. I mean, and actually, to be very frank with you, I think China is doing really great now as well. So China, yeah, it's true that China used to steal a lot of patents and stuff. They didn't care, but actually, I think China is doing great now. Not just in that. I think China finally started producing their own stuff, their own cars, their own technology, their own military and stuff, right? So yeah, it's very true that China's economy has been a huge part of that economy was stealing things. But I don't think that's necessarily the base of their development anymore, right? I think they have developed technology now. They have developed a lot of things, right? So I wouldn't say anymore that that's their base, right? They are now doing well as well, right? I think they got the... I mean, to be honest, I have 2 Chinese colleagues here at work in Copenhagen, and they're brilliant people. I mean, that level of efficiency and focus, and how would I call it? That level of discipline that Chinese people have is incredibly hard to beat. Incredibly hard to beat. Like, I have 2 colleagues from China, and they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like, that level of discipline is we don't have in the West. I don't think so. And we have many things here in the West. We're also amazing, and we have many things, but that level of discipline we don't have, like, even remotely. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Actually, random potato dev, I wanted to do that at one point, right? But then I gave up because the time investment of actually, because there is a so GitHub Action has there's a plugin for GitHub Actions that does that, right? It's just that I evaluated that it takes me basically around 7 to 10 seconds to create a new tag and push a tag, right? So, but I think if we continue making a lot of these changes, I think you're absolutely right. I think we should do that, right? In fact, if any of you have the time, be my guest. This is an open source project, so if you have the time, do it, right? You can go to a GitHub folder, right? You can go to workflows and take a look at the CI. If somebody has some time to kill, be my guest. That's why I open sourced a lot of these things, so people can actually contribute, right? It would be actually so useful to me as well. Have you ever worked any other? Yeah, man, I did a lot of shitty jobs. I used to clean snow. I I worked at the project bureau. I used to draw house legalizations in AutoCAD. I worked in a music store when I was 18. I worked in a guitar store. I never really, every job is a job, man. If I had to work for my family, I would work in the sewers, right? I don't think that there's no shame in doing any job. If it's fair, if you're a good person, and if you put the bread on your table, every job is a good job. I don't really care. Actually, I never told you a story. I did, in fact, and this is not a joke, I did, in fact, almost interview with Pornhub. It just didn't feel right to proceed with that because, if somebody asked me, where do you work? And I say on Pornhub, that would be hilarious, right? But the first question that I asked the recruiter about the development, obviously, yeah, 100%. This was maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Pornhub actually pays incredibly well. Developer salaries on Pornhub are actually super good. I'm dead serious. I'm not shitting you. I'm not sure. And you guys are thinking now, I'm just imagining Alex fucking chicks. No, definitely not. But I'm not shitting you. In fact, they pay incredible salaries. Salaries on these porn sites for developers are actually quite awesome. It's just that a lot of people don't want to work on a porn site, right? It's like, hey, you go to your grandma, right? And she's like, hey, my dear son, where do you work? And you're like, I work at a porn site, right? And she's confused, right? Like, what? You don't want to kill your grandma with an answer like that. It's like you meet a girl, right? It's like, hey, Alex, where are you working? I work at Pornhub, right? She's like, what the fuck? Are you a pimp, bro? Like, you put a golden teeth, right? I'm just imagining myself putting a golden teeth. It's like, hey, baby, I work at the Pornhub. Want to hang out? And it's like, what the fuck? She doesn't have the context, man. By the time you explain that you work as a developer, it's already over. Wait, I'm a software engineer at Pornhub, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm not shitting you. It would be a distraction to work there for sure. But there's no worse job that you can have than be a cameraman in a porn movie, man. That's the saddest job of all. I don't think you can get worse than that. Imagine being a camera guy in a porn movie, man. Desperate life. What is there to develop? Yeah, I mean, that's what you think, man. That's what you think, right? You have to maintain. I mean, dude, porn industry is, I think, one of the 3 or 5 industries on the planet. You have, obviously, military. We have so many wars all the time. I wonder why, right? You have military, you have pharma, you have oil, and then I think porn industry is probably 4th or 5th, right? So basically, people like to kill each other and fuck each other, pretty much. Or both at the same time. That kind of sums it up, right? Ooh, yeah, I fucking dislike this icon so much, man. I know it's probably the most irrelevant detail that carry. Yeah, my kid goes to kindergarten. Nikolai, my kid is like not even 5 years old. I'm just imagining he goes to kindergarten. Hey, darling, where does your dad work? At Pornhub. I mean, right? Not cool, right? Exactly. I mean, it's it's for sure. $100%. To use real-time data for this, Muhammad, can you be a little bit more specific, man? If you can be a little bit, I'm not sure what you mean by real-time data. Ah, you mean I'm using WebSocket instead? Well, not yet. We don't have any chat or anything like that yet, right? I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. Why? Why would I use it WebSocket for what? What would I use the WebSockets for now? Mohammed, I don't think that that they're referring to you. I don't think so. All my love to sacrifice. Hey you, listen what I say. Hey you. Do you think watching tutorials are good for people who struggle? I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's a video or text. It just boils down to who the person is. The only thing that matters is that you build things, right? So fundamentally, yeah. Do I think it's good to watch videos or not watch videos? Absolutely. You have to find what works for you, right? We're all different fundamentally. We all have different ways we approach learning, right? As I always say, Einstein used to say, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes looking for the right questions to ask, right? So how you approach learning fundamentally changes so many things around your success. But if you like watching videos and you can actually build while watching and understand, absolutely. The biggest problem with videos is that people watch them, they mimic what the author does, but they do so in such a way that where it's almost like, oh, I finished a video course. You don't watch a course to finish it. You watch a course to learn. You cannot finish a course, right? So if you're watching videos and you're learning out of it, right, then great. If not, right, so instead of asking these questions in a way, do you think it's good, focus on the outcome, right? The outcome of any actions in your life will tell you if something that you're doing is good or not. So if the outcome of your videos, if you're watching 10 hours of videos a day, and if the outcome of that is that you feel that you're growing as the individual, then hell yeah, it's amazing. But if the outcome of that is not as good, then it's not good, obviously, right? So you have to ask yourself, is based on my actions, what is the reaction of that, right? Did I learn or did I not? Because this is not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of results, right? If watching videos yields good results for you, then fuck yeah, watch videos, right? But if you're just procrastinating and just mimicking and then having no idea what the hell is happening, then obviously it's not good, right? Clearly. That's how I think, at least, right? It's all about results. Everything else is theory, and it plays no significance in anything, really. Can I play Trooper? I can play Trooper. Let's wait for this one to finish. And then we can play some Iron Maiden, yes. Continue Diablo 1. You wish. You wish. I think, yeah, I mean, when it comes to learning, again, you have to identify who you are, right? Nobody can know this, right? When it comes to any really actionable stuff, you have to define what works for you. But one fundamental truth is that if you want to learn anything, especially anything practical, right? You have to apply that practice, right? You have to build things. So you cannot, for example, so you know what is the hardest thing, right? So the best way to learn new things is by need, right? So there is no quicker and most amazing way to learn and grasp new things very quickly is that when you stumble upon them by need. So let's imagine now that we want to build a chat inside of Programmer Network. So when you go to Programmer Network, we want to have a chat just like LinkedIn. Then you would start researching and you'd say, hey, how do people build chats in the browser? What it is that they use? And then you realize, oh, so they use this protocol, right? That's I can send messages from one person to another easily. But then there's polling as well, so I can still use HTTP. But then you say, okay, wow, so this is WebSockets, right? And then, okay, so this is what people use WebSockets for, right? So this is how things are the best. Now, of course, when you're junior, when you're just beginning things, right, you're like, shit, somebody just told me to learn WebSockets. What the fuck is WebSockets? And why would I do that, right? You get what I mean? So you need to try to put yourself in a place where you need the technology. That's like just randomly waking up and saying, I want to learn how to use a jigsaw. Why would you learn how to use a jigsaw randomly, right? So it's no different with programming languages. It's like waking up and say, I'm going to go learn Rust. Why? Right? Why do you want to do that? It's like saying I want to learn how to make plates out of mud. Why, right? So if a human doesn't have an appropriate reason behind doing something, that thing that you do is going to evaporate from your brain quicker than it got in there, right? So you need to put yourself in a place where these things solve some problem that you have. You don't just wake up and do a random thing because it's, well, okay, let me just do a random thing, right? So this is the best way to really approach anything, right? Exactly, you have to build things. The best engineers are those who are thrown into building things every day. You cannot just sit and do random shit. Oh, let me learn bubble sort. Let me learn shell sort. Why? What do you think the outcome of that learning is going to be? You're going to learn some rules, and then in 4 days you're going to forget about it, right? Why? Because you have no application of that. Where the hell do you use that crap, right? Why would you do that, right? So that is fundamentally the problem, right? And that's why you cannot just wake up and learn about a protocol, because, who cares, man? Exactly, right? Exactly, right? You have to find a use case of learning anything. You cannot just wake up and learn random shit, right? Because if you do so, again, it just plays no role. You just forget about it. Why to learn? What is Mojo? Is that another programming language? Oh my fucking god, there's a new one. Oh, I saw this. Somebody sent this to me. This is clearly the best programming language on the planet, right? Mojo is clearly the best. Why? Because it's the newest, right? Everybody knows that the quality of a language purely is based on the how many seconds ago it came out, right? So in JavaScript community, we have, like, for example, if UI library is older than 4 seconds, it sucks, right? You absolutely must be on top of all of these things. Like, if you're not an expert in Mojo already, are you even a programmer, right? Like, do you even like to program, right? Look at this noob, he's talking about Python. Dude, Python came out so long. How do you even dare to talk about it? Are you not even mojoing? Are you guys actually not even mojoing, right? Come on, cockporn, man. Like, are you even programming, man, if you're not writing Mojo, right? I'm actually gonna go to Programmer Network and I'm gonna update my profile right now. Settings, profile, Mojo enthusiast, Mojo for Mojo is life heart. I actually can't wait. Did I spell that properly? There we go. From today, guys, please do not refer to me as Alex anymore. You can call me Magix, Mojo X, Mojo enthusiast. Mojo is life. It actually does. It's just I don't have any controls here. So basically, I disabled all extensions for the comments. You can just write a comment in plain text, as you can see, right? I mean, C-Plane, I think you're just basically now salty because you're not writing Mojo, man. This stream from today is a Mojo stream. Do you even write, do you guys even write modular code, right? Do you even write modular code? Because, you know, Mojo is modular, right? He's jelly. He's just jelly. C-Plane is simply just jelly. Yeah, look at this, man. They have a cool website as well, which means this programming language must be amazing. Rust. That's like at least 1 year old, right? This is like so new. It even says here, Max platform new. Yep. Mojo for life. Let's go. Using an old programming language. Are you even a programmer, man? All right, cool. Are you even a programmer, man? All right, let me just push this crap. Let's do some dangerous JavaScript code. If this website, man, like was written in Rust, right? It would basically improve the performance by around 27 milliseconds. And then everybody would start using Programmer Network because it's quite clear that Programmer Network, nobody actually even logs in there, simply because right now the page is loaded in 273 milliseconds. If they loaded in 243 milliseconds, everybody would be using Programmer Network. I mean, I know it, you know it, right? It's all about the load times. Everybody knows that, right? Let's actually see what is the average request latency and stuff in Programmer Network, man. Like, I mean, let's refresh this. Wait. Oh my god, unacceptable. Like, look at this, man. Wow. Shitty website. It loaded in 137 milliseconds. Are you kidding me, man? Like, what? I mean, is this really you want to really use a shitty platform that loads a request from an API in 137 milliseconds? 81 milliseconds? Shitty nodejs. Look at that. Wow. So slow. So slow, man. I'm not gonna do that, no. All right, let's go to Cloudflare pages. No, I'm just being sarcastic a little bit. I'm not suggesting anything. I don't suggest anything. It's just a joke, right? It's just a joke relative to some of these nerdy discussions, right? I use TipTap, right, and it's open source, so you can actually, if you care, I've basically, yeah, my implementation is here, fully open sourced here. If you wanna give it a star, of course, if you like it, but I'm using TipTap, and you can also go. I mean, the programming network UI library, I built it, right? So if you go to Yale here, and you can go here to scroll down to TipTap, right? You can go to default. Here you can basically see it. It's TipTap implementation. It's fully serialized. I basically built a system around this using HTML sanitizer, right? So every basically extension for TipTap that you enable is sanitized to this sanitized HTML. So in simple words, what does that mean? Well, that means that people can't render whatever hell they want inside here. You only render the class names, the HTML attributes, HTML tags that you define inside of your sanitizer, right? So if I go to very quickly to TipTap implementation, right? You see here I have this TipTap to HTML class that I wrote, right? This essentially takes the TipTap extensions and some other things, and then I have this generate sanitized HTML. And as you can see here, I have this sanitized config, and in this sanitized config, I basically map TipTap extensions, which are also generating HTML tags, to what is allowed in these tags. So you can see here, allowed attributes for anchor is href and data type, for iframe is src, for image are those, for span are those, right? So you define these things for your rich text, so people can't abuse it, right? So when your HTML renders, because you can see as I'm typing here in a storybook, this is the generated HTML, right? You can see here, right? So you can see you define which classes you want your TipTap to apply, etc., and right? You can do this, that, and this is stored as a stringified JSON object in your database. So basically, you store almost like an AST type of looking structure, right? You have each one of these things is represented as a JSON object in a TipTap. In most things like draft.js, lexical.js built by Facebook, these things are represented as JSON objects, right? So when you do this is called you have marks. So these things like bold, italic, and stuff, those are called marks, right? So basically, you can think that this is represented as an object, right? Actually, if we go to the TipTap implementation here, right? If I print the actual editor state, right? Let's see here. So you can see here now if I type something in, right? Let's actually go to localhost. Yeah, so if we go over here, and then we go to TipTap, right? We go to default. Yeah, so as I was saying, right? If we now see how most of these awesome rich text editors work, right? It's fairly simple. So you can see as I type, here we see some JSON objects, right? If I do H2, then I do some bold, right, and italic. So how is this represented data-wise, right? Very simple. You can see you have this array called content. And then you have each element in your editor has some type, right? So you can see we have a type heading, has some attributes, level 2, content, type text. This is the text, right? Then we have another thing called paragraph. It has a content. This content has 2 marks. So as you can see, as I said, what are marks? Well, bold and italic. And then the text itself. So these marks are applied to the actual text, right? And this thing is based on Prose Mirror API. And this Prose Mirror API is a very old and very known API for building rich text editors. So basically, TipTap is built on top of this. So you can say, well, why would I use TipTap? Well, because this is relatively low-level API, right? So if you want to build your own rich text editor from scratch, you can see there's quite a lot of stuff here to read and to learn about, right? If you go to TipTap now again, right? This is pretty awesome thing, right? If you go to docs, you can also kind of create your own, right? In one of the next streams, we're going to be building our own TipTap extension. So what does that mean? Fundamentally, what that means is that you're really not limited to just basic editing functionalities. So for example, when we used reactjs, which got deprecated by Facebook, we had some of our own custom extensions for the rich text editing, right? So you can really enrich your text editing for the users to a maximum degree. You can build anything that you want in here because you have a well-defined API, right? So if we go to extensions or something here, right? I guess, yeah, well, this is a list of available extensions, but if we go to documentation and then we go guides, I guess, Prose Mirror API, no, API, actually, let's just search for it, custom extensions. Yeah, so you can see here you have extend existing extensions and then you have custom extensions somewhere. You can basically, and we will be doing this in a couple of days, we'll be building our own extensions for TipTap, right? You need to edit these live sessions. I remember you were explaining which programs you were using for program editor. I want to watch it. Yeah, so Crystal, I really wish I have the time, man. I'm absolutely with you. It's just all of that would, I mean, I barely have the time to stream, right? And I just try whenever I have the time to even stream, right? So if I would have to edit these things, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. We have someone join our Discord. Yeah, but that's what it is. That's how that works. And it's fully open source. So if you want, again, I gave you the code. You can go and obviously start in the index and see pretty much how that's done, how I've done it myself. Because one thing that you might notice in Programmer Network, right, is that I've implemented TipTap in such a way where you can see like this instance here has these extensions, but if you go to a comment here, there's no extensions, right? So each different instance of the editor, you can choose gradually which extensions you want to enable. So not every instance has all the extensions. For example, you can see if I go to write an article, then I have more options here, right? So that's how I built it fundamentally. So when you're using TipTap, depending on the context, you can choose which extensions that you want to enable, right? And as you can see here, Random Potato, he's trying to inject some HTML. Of course, this is not going to work because that's all of these vulnerabilities have been my priority, right? So all of this stuff is never going to work there, right? Did I actually deploy this? Give me a second. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, Cloudflare Pages. Yeah, we actually did. So that's actually, yeah, so that's awesome. That's great. I mean, at one point, man, I almost built actually a custom editor myself. But then, trust me when I tell you this, I've worked with so many of these editors. There's nothing worse and more difficult in the front end than building these rich text editing experiences. Because while it might seem primitive, it's absolutely not. It's very complex because you need to basically let me show you one thing. So what you can do, the way that you would start building your own rich text experience, you would create a div, and then you would say content editable, I think true. I don't remember how it was. Yeah, it is content editable. Yeah. So let me show. Yeah, pretty much we can take this, right? So look at this. Now what you did, you can make literally any HTML element editable. Look what I can do. This is plain HTML. Look, the only thing you do is create a div and you say, hey, this div should be editable. Bam. Look at this now. You have your own editor, right? This is where you would start. Now we would have to start involving reactjs and JavaScript, right? Okay, well, where's my cursor? Then you would have to get, right, the cursor position, right? So then you would use like browser cursor offset. What was it, the API called? Right, so right, so etc, etc. So it's pretty complex, right? All right, let's chat a little bit, fellas, before I round up. Exactly, Leo. Exactly. Let's chat a little bit before I round up. I'm actually hungry, and I'm just gonna check programming network on my phone in the meanwhile. Yeah, we don't have to end. We don't have to end yet. It's fine. I'm just a little bit, yeah, distracted. Let's see if there's any fellas that need any help, or anyone that I can that I can help with anything. Oh, bring chat. Okay, wait, let me do that. Give me 1 second. Main, camera and logo, Twitch chat. Okay, do this, full camera. There we go. Can you drop a source link learning about GCP on Discord? I think Google has a lot of official Crystal, my pleasure, man. Google has a lot of official courses which are free, basically. Google has Coursera, but again, look. Let me just again say what I said a couple of minutes ago, right? Anonymous, the best way to learn these things is to find a use case and build something, right? So just, if you want to learn it, just tell to yourself, hey man, you know, how do I host the API on GCP? And then start there. So for example, you know, oh, I should use Cloud Run. Okay, great. Then ask next question, how do I add a database to that? Then you say, okay, how do I use, you know, manage database in GCP? Because if I give you any of these courses, they're very long and they cover so many of these services that you will not remember if you're not using it, right? So I think the best way to learn it is not to watch a course. Just create a free account that you have like a year of free trial on GCP, and say, okay, let me host my you know, Go API, my Express, my Fastify API on Cloud Run, right? That's the best way you can take, right? Oh, actually, I promised something to Leo. I promised Trooper, right? I'm not sure, Random Potato, if that's a bug, because that's the behavior of the editor, right? We haven't really we haven't changed the behavior of the editor. So if that's the Clearmo, thank you, man, for coming. I wish you a great evening, man. I'll see you the next time. All right, let's see if there are any other questions. ChatGPT is your best generator, Leo. ChatGPT is very good at helping you with these types of YAML files and stuff. It's very good at that. Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden. And yeah, of course, guys, please make sure you sign up, of course, in Programmer Network. I mean, especially if you will be following the stream, you know, even occasionally, just if you haven't, make an account. You have nothing to lose. Who knows? Maybe one day this platform becomes something, and you have an account with a slug that you reserved yourself, right? So that's the if you have a second, you can sign up in 4 different ways, with Twitch, with GitHub, with, you know, various ways. So make sure to do that. All right, let's see if there's any other interesting remarks or anything that I can share my thoughts on. I guess not. Okay, well, let's round it up. Most likely, we're going to see each other on Monday. We have guests coming in an hour, flying. We have some friends, a couple coming, and they're going to be staying at our place for next 2 or 3 days. So unless I find some time in the weekend, maybe if they take a walk alone, I might show up. But most likely not. So most likely next stream is going to be on... most likely next one is going to be on Monday, but I'm going to keep you posted on Discord. Leo, I expect some pictures, I expect some videos, so please do so. Crystal, let's see what I can do about it. Let's see if there's something I can automate or whatever. I agree for sure, man, absolutely. I think maybe I should use my Stream Deck to use these, to put these times and stuff like that. I think I can do better for sure. Craft and Eleminum and everybody, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for being here. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. I hope you killed some time. And I wish you people all the best. Take care. Yeah. I'll catch you guys up soon, a couple of days. I wish you best. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.